0217 a.m. The Greenland coast burns under the aurora, a white dome half-collapsed, smoke pulling sideways in the wind. The sensor tower at Thule Air Base throws sparks into snow, fuel tanks rupture, orange flames spreading along the ice trench. A KC-135 on standby is overturned by the blast, its wing embedded in frozen soil. Drone footage from altitude 90 meters shows 3 impact craters glowing like furnaces. Inside the operations shelter, thermal cameras flicker, reading temperatures above 1,200 degrees Celsius. No one speaks. A major shouts coordinates into a deadline. In orbit, a reconnaissance satellite passes overhead every 90 seconds, capturing frames of the wreck. The first analysis feed shows debris signatures from high-velocity anti-ship cruise missiles. On another screen, a Russian destroyer's call sign flashes red. Severomorsk 414, last known position, Norwegian Sea, 73 degrees north. Then silence. 0218 a.m., U.S. Arctic Command declares, strike verified. The message rides through 5 communication relays before reaching the Pentagon. 20 seconds per hop. By the time the final packet arrives, a counterstrike protocol is already in motion. Aboard the Ohio-class submarine, USS Maryland, 70 kilometers under Arctic ice. Crewmen in red light load 4 Trident launch tubes. No confirmation yet on who fired first. At Thule, the survivors dig through snowdrifts for bodies and hardware. Rescue teams find a Patriot radar dish blown 200 meters from its base, twisted like foil. Commanders in nukes still think more missiles are inbound. The first paragraph of every report reads, impact confirmed, source unknown. Defensive systems may still be active. 3 hours earlier, 11:07 p.m. The radar console inside the Arctic surveillance building hums at -15 degrees. 2 operators, call signs Delta 1 and Delta 2, watch the long-range display. A faint return at bearing 048 degrees appears, vanishes, then reappears. Range 740 kilometers. Delta 1 adjusts gain. The trace jumps again. Aurora activity is high. Electromagnetic interference distorts the beam. They flag it as noise, no alarm. On the second screen, a temperature inversion above the Greenland Sea creates false echoes. The shift commander signs off at 11:12 p.m. for system recalibration. Nothing about it looks hostile. The computer automatically logs the anomaly under Category 4, atmospheric reflection. No one cross-checks it against satellite movement. At 11:29 p.m. in the Barents Sea, the Russian destroyer, Severomorsk 414, rides 4-meter swells, heading 274 degrees west at 14 knots. Wind speed 30 knots, snow sweeping across deck cameras. The ship's combat information center runs silent. All transmitters are off. The captain, Komarov, gives a brief order. 8 vertical launch cells open on the starboard side, each glowing from ignition heaters. A plume of vapor sprays 20 meters high. The first 3 M54 Kalibr missile launches with a roar, climbing to 1,000 meters before turning southwest. The second follows at 5-second intervals. Inside the bridge, only the acoustic alarm sounds. Launch telemetry feeds to a secure console showing flight path curvature toward the Greenland shelf. Komarov watches coordinates scroll. Target, classified U.S. installation 77 degrees north, 69 degrees west. Range 890 kilometers. Time to impact, 26 minutes. At 11:31 p.m., infrared satellites in polar orbit register 8 simultaneous heat blooms on the Russian coastline. Automated alert tags them as possible exercises. The operator at Peterson Space Force Base runs quick verification against known test zones. None match. He sends a Level 2 notification to U.S. Northern Command. The system classifies the event as limited salvo. The working theory, a training launch toward empty sea corridors. Greenland is not mentioned. A separate analyst in Virginia sees the same data but notes trajectory bending westward. He drafts an addendum, potential deviation from pattern, and cues it for supervisor review. The message never reaches the command floor before intercept protocols lock it behind encryption. 11:37 p.m. At Thule, snow begins to fall heavier, radar clarity dropping to 40%. The main array rotates at 15 revolutions per minute, servo motors whining under ice. Delta 1 sees a spike on his screen, altitude 40 kilometers, speed Mach 0.8, but it fades within seconds. He logs another false return. His partner jokes about the northern lights playing tricks again. They continue calibration, unaware that 8 missiles are closing from the east at 240 meters per second. The duty officer walks in, glances at the displays, and tells them to reduce sensitivity until the weather stabilizes. For 7 minutes, the radar is effectively blind. At 11:41 p.m., the destroyer's missiles cross into radar coverage range. 2 of them climb for final stage separation, deploying decoys, small metallic flares spinning at supersonic speed. Their infrared signatures mimic warheads. The rest descend to 30 meters above sea level, skimming wave crests. The ship's fire control room monitors telemetry, showing stable flight. Komarov checks the chronometer. Estimated intercept, 12:03 a.m. A communications officer reads off, signal clean. The destroyer turns north, engine noise echoing across empty sea. 11:44 p.m. Space Force analysts reclassify the event. Missile flight toward U.S. area of interest, NORAD, confirms vector alignment to Greenland within 10 seconds. An emergency line opens to Thule Air Base. The call comes through garbled by solar interference, only 2 words audible: inbound launch. Delta 1 freezes, Delta 2 reroutes power to the upper radar dish. At 11:46 p.m., the first proper track locks on. Range 520 kilometers, speed Mach 0.9. The base sirens activate, wind drowns out most of the audio. Personnel sprint for hardened shelters. Inside the ops building, 1 technician pushes the button for Patriot battery wake-up. Power capacitors begin charging at 11:47. Interceptor ready time, 3 minutes. By 11:49 p.m., the base's airfield is chaos, snow blown into horizontal sheets. An F-15E crew races to their jet, ground crew pulling chocks with bare hands. The Patriot radar acquires first missile at 340 kilometers, altitude dropping. 2 interceptors launch at 11:50 p.m. Trails of fire vanish into darkness. Seconds later, a flash at 210 kilometers. 1 kill confirmed. Another target splits into 3 returns. Decoys. Operators call them splits. They believe both missiles destroyed. Wrong. The main warhead continues at Mach 2, low over the water. 11:52 p.m. The THAAD battery behind the hill comes online. Only 2 interceptors available. Both fire within 10 seconds, rising through clouds. For 6 seconds, they track correctly. Then the radar loses lock, overwhelmed by chaff debris from decoys. The impact alarm triggers, remaining missiles 30 seconds out. In Nuuk, 460 kilometers south, command authorizes Autonomous Defense Condition Red. Every available interceptor launches simultaneously. Overhead, contrails twist through snow and vapor. Crew inside shelters hear the thunder like constant drumming. 11:55 p.m. The first missile strikes. Impact point 20 meters short of the operations bunker. Overpressure knocks out every generator within 1 kilometer. Seismic sensors record a magnitude 3.6 shock. The second missile hits the fuel depot, tearing a trench of fire across the ice. Third missile penetrates Hangar Row. The fourth, struck by a CRAM burst, explodes midair at 70 meters altitude. Shrapnel rains on parked aircraft. 15 seconds later, the fifth missile, one of the low flyers, hits the satellite dish compound. Flames roll across permafrost. Radar screens go black. Communication with Space Force lost. 11:56 p.m. At that exact moment, in the Norwegian Sea, a P-8A Poseidon aircraft on patrol identifies the Severomorsk 414 through surface radar. Range 61 kilometers. The crew transmits the contact to Carrier Strike Group 8, positioned west of Iceland. The carrier, USS Gerald R. Ford, launches 8 FA-18 Super Hornets armed with AGM-158J ASSM missiles. Flight time to target, 9 minutes. The destroyer's radar picks them up too late. At 12:05 a.m., the first wave of JASSMs arrives, flying at Mach 0.9 just above the waves. 2 impact amidships, breaching hull below deck level. The ship lists within 30 seconds. A final explosion, likely fuel cell detonation, erupts at 12:06. Infrared satellites record peak temperature 1,800 degrees Celsius. The destroyer disappears from radar at 73 degrees north. 12:08 a.m. Back at Thule, the second wave of defensive interceptors launches automatically, unaware that the enemy platform is gone. Systems work from cached trajectories. At 12:10 a.m., a Patriot interceptor collides with a decoy flare, producing another massive flash seen for hundreds of kilometers. Operators celebrate, believing final threat eliminated. A surviving missile, however, approaches at ground level, invisible to radar due to curvature and terrain shadow. It hits the northern array at 12:12 a.m., killing 21 personnel. The blast throws snow and debris 200 meters into the air. 12:14 a.m. aboard USS Maryland, still under ice. Encrypted messages arrive via ELF antenna. Strike verified. Initiate response package Frostline. Captain Reynolds reads it twice. No clarification. He requests confirmation. Silence. He looks to XO. Load sequence. Crewmen insert keys. Twist simultaneously. The submarine's launch compartment floods at 12:16. 4 Trident missiles rise vertically through 10 meters of water, then breach the surface at 12:17. Launch speed 40 meters per second. Direction, northeast toward Barents Sea. Total flight time to coordinates of Severomorsk 414, 13 minutes. They do not know the ship is already sinking. 12:18 a.m. Above the Arctic Circle, 2 E-3 Sentry aircraft monitor everything. They see the destroyer's radar vanish, but still register missile plumes from Maryland. Commanders in Washington debate abort codes. Satellite lag 6 minutes. Impossible to stop. At 12:21 a.m., the Tridents climb past 50,000 feet, boosters separating. Each missile deploys multiple glide vehicles, each loaded with a single precision warhead. The sensors calculate impact radius 600 kilometers. For 2 minutes, global communication networks jam with overlapping signals. 12:23 a.m. In the Barents Sea, debris from Severomorsk 414 floats amid oil slicks. Russian SAR aircraft scramble from Murmansk, flight time 25 minutes. They detect incoming tracks from the west, but cannot distinguish friend or foe. At 12:28 a.m., the first U.S. missile warheads re-enter atmosphere. Velocity Mach 5. 7 explode above empty ocean, creating plumes of steam 3 kilometers high. The remaining one strikes coordinates near the destroyed ship, vaporizing remaining debris. Sensors confirm energy yield equivalent to 4,000 kilograms of TNT. 12:30 a.m. Arctic Command finally receives confirmation that Severomorsk 414 is destroyed. Too late. Retaliation has already occurred. Satellite operators watch shockwaves ripple across the sea ice. Hydrophones detect reverberation for 20 seconds. Commanders issue stand-down order. No further launches authorized. Thule Air Base burns under northern lights. Fuel smoke rises straight into the sky. 12:34 a.m. Fire crews push through snow to the northern perimeter. Temperatures near blast site exceed 900 degrees Celsius. Wind direction east-northeast. They find wreckage of Patriot interceptors, debris fields spreading 2 kilometers. A generator truck lies on its side, crew missing. The runway glows faintly from molten metal. One survivor describes hearing 2 impacts, then silence. Radiation sensors show no contamination. The base remains functional only on backup power. 01:10 a.m. Satellite overpass shows total area of destruction. 3 square kilometers, 6 craters, 21 confirmed dead, 47 injured. Communications from Maryland cease at 01:14. Submarine now under silent running protocol. Carrier Strike Group 8 begins withdrawal to the southwest. In Washington, analysts cross-compare radar and satellite data, confirming sequence. Russian destroyer-initiated launch. U.S. retaliation followed. Both sides now silent. Decision logs show no human override during the final 5 minutes. Every action automated by latency. 01:30 a.m. Arctic wind clears the smoke. A drone circles at altitude 400 meters, mapping structural collapse. One hangar completely gone, another half buried. A truck convoys survivors to emergency shelter 40 kilometers inland. Snow muffles everything. The thermal camera feed shows glowing wrecks gradually cooling, colors fading from white to orange. 02:00 a.m. The first formal report begins uploading through satellite relay. Attack concluded. Enemy vessel destroyed. Retaliation verified. It includes estimated launch times, trajectories, intercept counts, and remaining ordnance. The data file size exceeds 400 megabytes. Analysts project missile flight paths backward and realize the initial radar anomaly at 11:07 p.m. matched the destroyer's emission profile. The missed recognition window was 4 minutes, enough for launch preparation. The report closes with a single line. Cause: sensor misclassification during magnetic interference. 02:17 a.m. The same minute the story began, satellite images refresh. Thule Air Base still smoldering. No further motion on Russian channels. A faint signal from under the ice shows Maryland returning to patrol depth. The operation's full timeline, impact, counterstrike, destruction, spans 1 hour and 10 minutes. Not a single missile remains in flight. Snow begins to fall again, covering the craters in white dust. At 03:40 a.m., global networks pick up fragments of encrypted traffic between Murmansk and Moscow. Analysts tag the code as Search and Recovery Authorization. Russian fleet status lists 1 destroyer missing, presumed lost. In Nuuk, American officers walk the runway with flashlights, noting melted asphalt, crater diameter 17 meters, depth 6. A temporary communications tower is raised using salvaged antenna parts. One technician remarks that the air is too quiet. By dawn, 06:12 a.m., temperature -20. The sun barely touches the horizon. Smoke still drifts from the wreckage, a thin vertical line against pink sky. Helicopters circle overhead, collecting radiation readings and air samples. Data uplinks to Space Force confirm 0 contamination. Yet every defensive system remains armed. Screens display constant yellow status. High readiness. Operators hesitate to reset. New commands require manual authorization. The system, once activated, waits for further input that never comes. At 07:45 a.m., recovery teams find fragments of a Kalibr missile casing marked Serial 0034-17. They log it as evidence, the casing temperature still above freezing. The U.S. Navy's Arctic Group begins dismantling damaged interceptors, stacking remains for transport. Engineers measure impact craters with laser rangefinders, mapping coordinates to satellite images. Every sensor, every actuator, every weapon recorded its own data stream, proving everything worked as designed. 09:00 a.m. The official after-action summary compiles across 10 command centers, timeline displayed in red and green markers. 8 Russian missiles launched, 6 intercepted, 2 impacts, 4 U.S. retaliatory missiles fired, 8 JASSMs launched from Carrier Group. 1 destroyer sunk, 1 base half destroyed. Total time from first detection to final silence. 71 minutes, every event cross confirmed by multiple sensors. No one mentions the initial misread. The cause line stays blank. 12:00 p.m. Snowfall thickens again. Drone footage shows repair crews cutting into ice to expose buried hangars. Power restored, partially to runway 2. The aurora overhead flickers in faint blue arcs. From space, Greenland appears calm. No visible fires. Just a scar of blackened ice where the installation once stood. The file closes with one final line entered by an analyst at 12:03 p.m. All systems nominal, awaiting next detection.